Good evening, folks.
Good
As
evening.
we usually do, I'll read to you the last 7 daily inspirational messages, the titles, and then you guys can choose one and we can start from there. Okay. April 15th, aligning with your life's purpose. April 16th, you are the author of the world you see. April 17th, overcoming the idea of death. April 18th, building a world without fear as its foundation. April 19th, you are never alone.
Yes.
Okay. April 20th, what time is to eternity? And April 21st, the act, in quotes, of anger. All right.
They're all great. Oh God. You're never alone for me would be a good one.
Which one? Which one we do? You're never alone? Okay. You're never alone.
Lori voted for 6 out of the 7. I love it.
I vote for all of them. They're great. They're all great. Let's do them all. They resonate with all of us, right?
That'll be a long maybe someday.
Yeah.
Okay. April 19th, you are never alone. This is the condensed version. You can find it in the website, chosentoremember.com, and you can sign up to the email list. It's free, and you can get it every day. So this is the April 19th daily inspirational. You are never alone. This is the condensed version. It's 2 paragraphs long, and I'll go ahead and start to read it. Paragraph 1. You may sometimes feel lonely, but you are never alone. God is love and all. So there's no place where you are that God is not. It is because God has whispered in your ear that it is time to awaken, that you have now chosen to open your eyes. Every time the sun rises above the horizon, it lovingly delivers into your arms a brand new day. When its light brightens your face and its touch warms your heart, it is source you are feeling. Every breath you take is God sharing with you how much you are needed. There is not one breath that you have ever taken without God's knowledge. Remember this and know that you are not alone. The journey you are now on is the one that you have co-created with your source. Today, know that every step you take, God takes with you. Paragraph 2. Today, let us recall that feeling lonely is just a sign that shows us when we're buying into the ego's lies of separation as true. God is all, and therefore the ego's lies, tools, and mindset are nothing, not real or true. If we focus on nothing, then yes, loneliness will appear to be real. Today, let us use that feeling of loneliness not to depress or demean yourself or others, but instead as a personal call to action. It is a call from the universe inviting you to consciously unite with the love that God and you are. Today, in every moment or interaction, ask yourself, what expression of love am I being asked to be and share? The more you consciously choose to align with love, with the mind of God, the more you will feel worthy of God's presence and companionship. The more worthy you feel of God's presence in your life, the less alone or lonely you will feel. End of paragraph 2. All right. And so roughly, what this daily inspiration is about is saying that wherever love is, you are. Okay? So whenever you're sharing any expression of love, that is in essence God flowing through you. Okay? So when you're offering forgiveness, which is an expression of love, instead of judgment, that is God flowing through you. Therefore, God is there in that moment where the ego would demand for judgment, and the ego will have you think that, where is God right now if I'm so stuck in judgment with this person? But remember, God is always just a simple and gentle choice away. So no matter the ego drama, the ego's going to make the drama look very dramatic, the situation look very dramatic, right? No matter the drama, God is always just one simple and gentle choice away. Okay? So when you offer forgiveness, which is an expression of love, God is there. When the ego demands condemnation, but you offer compassion, God is there. God is in that compassion. When your brothers or sisters or even yourself are anxious, fearful, worried, or doubtful, but you instead choose to use those moments to trust the divine more, trust in your sacred co-design with God, God is there. And so remember, don't let yourself sink into the ego's little swampland. Okay? When the ego is demanding judgment, anger, resentment, hate, frustration, worry, doubt, fear, hopelessness, whenever the ego offers you that swamp, say, no, thank you. I'll choose peace instead of this. And so, no matter how alone or lonely you feel, and yes, being human and sometimes believing in this duality as real, we will sometimes feel alone, and we will sometimes feel lonely, and we will sometimes feel like God is not listening to us, or where is God right now? I mean, I've tried to reach him so many times. Where is he? Why doesn't he answer back? But there's a divine design in place. So practice using that loneliness not to trigger in you more and more darkness and despair. Okay, don't use it as that way. That's how the ego wants you to use loneliness. Instead, use loneliness. Okay, wait a second. I'm feeling lonely and alone right now. What is this offering me right now? It is offering me the opportunity to go to God, to consciously go to God and unite with him, and let love flow through me. And the more you use the ego's delusions to realign with the truth in you, guess what happens? The illusions begin to fade away into the nothingness which they truly are. So the more you consciously choose God over your delusion of loneliness, the more you will see that you have never been alone. That God is always there with you and within you. Just a simple and gentle choice away. God is not punishing you because you're feeling lonely. God is not punishing you because you're feeling angry or resentful. God is just inviting you. That's an invitation from God to choose a better way, to choose another way. And yes, sometimes Mike says, you can hit your head on the wall so many times before you say there must be a better way, right? So when the ego demands anger and you say, okay, I'll answer with anger. And then you do that. And then you do it again and again. And it never delivers to you peace to your heart or joy to your mind. And then sooner or later, you have to say to yourself, man, there must be a better way. There has to be a better way. But guess who got you to that place of thinking there must be a better way? The ego. And so the ego itself is self-destructive. Okay, the ego doesn't know this, but the ego is destroying itself by making you believe that its delusions are real. And so you're going to hit your head on the wall only so many times before you say there must be a better way. And when you do, when you finally respond with forgiveness and compassion and understanding to anger, then you'll say, wow, you know what? This kind of feels right and good. Yes, this is the way that I want to be. This is what I want to share with the world. Thank you, ego, because all you did was help me practice seeing that anger is not the response that I wanted. Thank you. And then imagine being able to be thankful to the ego, no matter what it throws your way, because you know that all it's doing is helping you remember who you are not. And that's a beautiful gift. People punish themselves when they're being who they are not. Okay, that's what the ego wants you to do. Oh, I'm being anger or resentment. Oh, I know that I shouldn't be doing that. I'm bad. I'm not spiritual enough. I gotta read another 100 pages. Okay, no. And it's inviting you to choose a better way. And so thank you, person X or Y, who triggered me. Thank you. Because I know that all you're doing is helping me remember who I am not and therefore who I truly am. Questions or comments on the delusion of loneliness and feeling alone?
I got I got a comment. I feel like, God, I feel like listening to you explain it. It's like this dance that we're in. This idea of coming together with God and stepping apart, forgetting that there is no apart, and then remembering and stepping together. It's that dance. Like, oh, ooh, this doesn't feel good far away. Let me step together and become one again and remember who we are together. And then forgetting and stepping away and then remembering and stepping together. Sometimes I know I've said this before. I think that I forget on purpose or subconsciously or whatever, just so that I can experience the joy of remembering that I am never disconnected with God. So, yes, the illusion of loneliness. Thank you, James.
Thank you. Yes. Any other comments or questions in regarding to the, or any examples of when you felt lonely and when you sank into the ego story?
Oh, can I? I do it all the time. I've always felt lonely, always feel alone. And it's like the Holy Spirit always sends me a message. I'll see like a sign that says you're not alone, or I'll be watching the TV and someone will say you're not alone. And I find a t-shirt that says you're not alone. But I still feel that void, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like I'm alone. I still feel like God has forgotten about me, that he doesn't, on one level, and then on another level, I know that he's there, but mostly I feel like he's just abandoned me, that he doesn't really care about me, he cares about everybody else, you know, other than me.
Yes. I think most of us, especially those who are in the spiritual search consciously, do feel like, wow, you know what? I meditate so often and I pray so often, and God really doesn't answer that often.
Yeah.
And so that's just the ego, okay? Uh, whenever you're feeling that sense of loneliness, remember, just try to simplify things, okay? Whenever you're feeling lonely, you only have two choices, really. You could sink into that idea of loneliness, that idea that God is not answering you, that idea that God is not listening to you. And what happens when you do that? You just sink deeper and deeper into darkness and despair.
Yeah.
That's one choice, okay? We have another choice. Whenever you're feeling that loneliness, just make the conscious decision to say thank you to God. God, I do not quite understand why I'm feeling this, but I know that every feeling that you invite me to feel is something that will, in some way, shape, or form, help me grow, heal, and awaken. And so, this sense of loneliness right now, this is the best thing for me right now, because this creates a quiet space where I can now choose to go to you. Okay, so in one place, you can sink deeper into the darkness when you use loneliness, the thought of loneliness through the ego's lens, or in the other sense, you can go straight to source, straight to God, and say, okay, I'm feeling lonely right now. Okay, that's fine. Let me just sit here and try to experience the love of God. And then we do like a meditation where we feel visualize ourselves sitting underneath this beautiful waterfall. And if you believe in Jesus, then you can see Jesus on top of the waterfall. And you can see, Jesus is sometimes called living waters, right? And waters in the spiritual realm is a symbol of truth, okay? And so whenever you're allowing water to flow through you, you're allowing truth to flow through you. And so when you visualize the love and truth of God flowing through you, just visualize that sitting under that waterfall and absorbing that love and being like a sponge and just filling yourself with that love and then overflowing with that love. And the only reason that you were able to do that, why? Because you were offered a place of silence, a moment of silence, a place where you started to question, to remember, wait a second. This sense of loneliness, I could either sink deeper into it as the ego would have me do, or I can rise to God and invite God in, consciously invite God in to flow through me. And so all the ego's just doing is helping you practice remembering that you're worthy of a connection to God. And so if that loneliness, if all it did was help you remember that I can choose right now to unite with God, and therefore I am worthy of God's companionship, and therefore I am worthy of God's love. Okay, thank you, loneliness. Because all you did is remind me that I can choose God, pardon me, in any moment. I can choose to allow God to flow through me and fill me, and then offer this fulfilling sensation, offer it to all those that God sends my way. And that's how it expands. When you offer that knowledge, that internal knowledge, that God is always with you and within you, and offer it to whoever God sends your way. That way it expands.
Yeah, that helps, because I know that I suffer from some deep depression, some really deep, dark depression, where there's days that I mean, I don't want to kill myself, but there's days that I just wish that I wasn't here. So doing that will, if I can catch it before, like you said, before I sink into that, because it's just like something piling on top of you. As soon as it gets its hold, it's kind of dragging you down.
Yeah.
And then there's days that I'm just here and all I can do is cry, God help me, God help me. And that's what I do. I say, God help me, God help me. So yeah, I'm going to try that, because that depression is no joke.
Yeah.
No joke.
Have you ever noticed living here like in Miami, as I do, or if you live anywhere near the ocean, there's something called a rip tide.
Yeah.
That's sometimes when the sands near the shore uh, um, are shaped in such a way where the water goes through it, and then if you get stuck in it, you get sucked out.
Yeah.
Okay, if you get into the rip tide, right, and you get sucked out, but you fight against it, guess what? You're dead.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
will never beat
Yeah.
the rip tide.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you allow the rip tide to take you out, and you swim once the riptide's energy is done, and you can swim across the beach, and then you can swim back into the shore. And so you see, it seems like a terrible situation, and if you're not knowledgeable, then yes, it is.
Yeah.
But if you're somewhat knowledgeable, it seems a little scary at the moment, but you just calm down. Say, this riptide is going to end. I'm going to be able to swim across and then back to shore. Okay, so that's the same thing with loneliness. If you start fighting the loneliness and start condemning yourself because you think that God somehow does not see you, you're going to be in trouble with depression and sadness and despair. Okay,
Yeah.
don't fight it. Every moment of your journey, believe it or not, is a gift from God to you. No matter what the ego has taught you, every moment is a gift from God to you. So even that sense of loneliness, be in it. Let it take you to where it wants. But you go there with trust in your heart, knowing that God, okay, there's a time, I don't remember the verse in the Bible, but it says, there's a time to dance, a time to
Today.
sing,
Yeah.
a time to live,
If and
a time to die.
and I'm
So
to sow and I'm to reap.
Yes, a time to sow. There's a beautiful song by some artists about that verse. And so, see, there's a perfect time for everything. And so, stop punishing yourself when you're thinking that, oh man, this doesn't feel good. I must be being punished for some reason. No, you're not being punished. You're being offered a moment of quietness, a space. And in that space, you can do whatever you want. You can choose the darkness and despair, or you can choose the light. You can choose to believe that God has not seen you, or you can believe that you can use this moment to trust God more, knowing that He always has your back because He is perfect love. And perfect love always has your back. Yes. Comments or questions?
I have a question, James.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So the question is, do you think that when you're feeling lonely or feeling sad or depressed or any negative emotion, they're all some form of version of fear? And the fear being that, oh, I'm lonely. Not that I'm lonely at this current moment, because if you're lonely current moment, you can go watch a movie or something. It's not because I'm going to be lonely in the future. So we have a fear of future loneliness, which is driving us to feel that. And it's not really loneliness, it's some form of fear. And if we, in like you say, invite God in, you know, fear and ego is the same, and God and love is the same. You can meditate and all that kind. So that's my question. Do you think all these low emotions are just a function of fear? That's the question.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all a function of fear. It's like, remember when you were a little kid and maybe you had a nightmare and then you call out to your mom?
No, don't know. Can't
Yeah.
never do.
Well, most of us remember that. But yeah, so that it's just a fear. The loneliness, any expression that's unloving in nature is a form of fear. Okay, so feeling lonely is a form of fear. Feeling like God is not there for you. And man, if God is not there for me, who is?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. But the thing is, no matter what it appears to be like, God is there. No matter how dark your room, God is there. And so, yes, it is a form of fear. But it's just a program. Something we've been programmed to believe. To be scared of the dark. You know, when we are the light. Why would the light ever be scared of the dark? Unless maybe you've seen a few horror movies. Then yes, maybe for those nights, I don't recommend that. First of all, I want to say that no matter how entertaining those things are, don't see those things. Those things are not good.
No.
They're not uh, loving in nature. They may be entertaining, but no, stay away from that. And that because that's how I don't want to get too esoteric, but the spirits that are not very pleasant in nature, they use our memories. Okay, somebody, let me see, master mute. Yeah. So, yeah, the spirits that are not very loving in nature can use your memories to trick you into buying into that deception of fear. And so all you have to do is remember that's a lie. Whenever you're fearing, that's simply a program that you believed as real. Okay, it's just a program. That's all it is. It's a program from your past, right? That you
That's kind of projecting into the future that, oh my God, this is what it is. That's how it's going to be a year from now, 5 years from now. It's like it's more of a projection. The fear is like projecting the current state in the future. Like, oh, I'm lonely now. I'm going to be lonely a year from now because no one's going to be in my life a year from now. So that fear of what's going to happen a year from now, that's would does that make sense?
yeah. Okay, just follow this, okay? Just imagine this here is the past, okay? This here is the present, okay? And this here is the future, okay? If in the past you have been programmed to believe in the idea of fear, right? You extend this past onto the present moment, right? And here's the present moment, but you extend it over the present moment, right? So now all you're seeing is that fear, right? You're not seeing the truth that's happening, the present moment here. And then what happens? Because you don't know that you're extending it, you extend it further into the future. And so you never even get to experience the moment or the future. You always get an extension of the past. Okay, so you have to learn to recognize all I'm doing, because I have fear right now, that means that all I'm doing is I'm extending the past onto the now, and that's why I'm not seeing what's truly going on. Okay? So you're not really seeing what's truly going on, you're seeing an extension of your past, which then becomes your future. Okay.
But what happens if you okay, what happens if, for those of us that had that bad dream, we had no parents to come and, and comfort us. So we were alone back then, and we're alone right now. That's not fear. That's actually what actually happened, right? I mean, you're not fear. You could fear about this happening in the future, but in the past it happened, and now it's the same thing, right? So how is that fear?
Well, the thing is that we were programmed to believe that just because I'm a body right here, right? And then that's a body, another body over there, right? So if that body over there is not in the same room with me, then I'm alone according to the ego, right? Because we're separate. I'm separate from that person. But what if the truth was that we were all one? That we have guardian angels, that we have guides, that we have help in the spiritual realm, but were never taught that. And so we saw our separate body as being alone in a room, and then we thought we were alone. But you were never alone. That's the thing, you were never alone. You always had your guardian angel with you, you always had your guides with you, and you always had God or the Holy Spirit or Christ if you invited him in.
Doesn't make
And so the thing is that you have never been alone. In reality, in duality, it looks like you have been alone, okay? Because in duality, we've been programmed to believe this is a body over here and that's a body over there. This body is separate from that body. That's the delusion of the duality of the ego's mindset and world. No, we're all one, we're all connected. We can never be alone because God is with and within us. And so you're never alone. And so if you bought into the lie as true when you were little, and you've brought it into the moment, into the present moment, then you're covering up the truth with your lie, with the lie that you've been taught as true. So all you have to do is forgive yourself. Forgive yourself and forgive all others for quote unquote not being there for you. And remembering God, okay, God, I now forgive every single person who I believed was supposed to be with me, but was not with me. I forgive them because now I know that you were there with me. Now I know and trust that you were there with me, even when I was a little child and I was quote unquote alone. God was there with you. And so that's how you want to try to begin to heal the past. Because if you don't heal the past, you just carry it forward. And so no matter how much lack of knowledge your caretakers had, they did the best they could with the tools they had available to them, emotional and spiritual tools they had available to them. And so you just have to recognize that, and that because your journey is a sacred code creation with God, there's something there that you can use now to help others. And so, yes, some people make tough life choices, and those are just great, very courageous souls. You know, because I guarantee you, if you chose a tough life, your guides before you came in said, "Listen, are you sure you want to do that much?" And you said, "Yeah, yeah, I can do that. I can do that. I want to see. I want to do that."
That's me. You know, that's me. I can
Yeah,
do it, you know. I can take on that challenge.
yeah, yeah,
I'm gonna go talk to my guides about this. Okay.
yeah, yeah. And then you said, "No, no, no, I can do it. I can do it." And they go, "Okay, okay, good luck." and then and then that's what happened. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so yeah, you have you have serious uh, strength there, inner strength. You just have to rediscover it. Yeah. Yes.
Hi, James.
I
Hi. Continue what you just said, but also what we talked last Monday. So we're talking about suffering, and I understand that, like you just said, some people choose to have like a tough life because they believe that they will overcome, and I do believe that when people make these choices, they have the strength to overcome. You know, and I learned, you know, through I am an empath, so for me it's very easy to feel the pain of other people. Very, but at the same time, I learned, you know, that the best way to help people is to is not to do the work for them, but is, you know, hold the space for them to have their own strengths, you know, to heal from that situation, you know. But that said, I still, you know, the thing that I still struggle is the animal suffering, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And I understand that there's a karma for us, you know, and I believe the animals are also subject to the law of karma, right? But it's very, very hard for me to understand that I see animals as like they teach us unconditional love.
Mhm.
It's easier for me to see the karma on people. Okay,
Yeah.
you do some bad choices, and then, you know, that's why you're learning. Um, but through animals, it's hard, and then the suffering comes because you know, I help a lot of these organizations, and then all of a sudden you keep receiving tons of letters, and some of them they describe like all the torture these animals go through, and it's horrible. And sometimes I as an empath, I start feeling the pain, you know, but
Yeah.
reading these letters.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel terrible because it's not what everybody says. Oh, you just like to interfere on people's karma. No, I don't. But it's like this letter come from me, obviously from people asking for help. You know, I like to help, but it makes me feel bad to think about
Yeah.
all that suffering. You understand?
Yeah.
So what do you have to say about like this? It, you know, like, okay, so an animal, you just said we choose, you know, tough life. So animals also have that.
yes,
They,
yes.
Uh,
When you get back to heaven, you can actually talk to animals. You
Mhm.
can, they have language. Like I'll tell you the story of one of my dogs. His name was Texas. Texas Basset. He was a Basset Hound.
cute. Cute.
Texas, really, I like a really smart dog. Like shockingly smart. You know, like he would get in bed and he knew how to put the covers over himself. Like he would put his head on the pillow, okay,
Uh-huh.
and he would get the covers and put them on top of his body, and then go to sleep like that. This dog was so yeah, he was an amazing friend. And okay, so when he passed, I had 15 years with him. When he passed, which is great for Basset now. When he passed, uh, I was meditating like a day after he passed because I made the decision to put him to sleep. So it's my decision. And and I was just meditating, and then all of a sudden, because he would love to, when after I came back from work, I would sit on the couch, on the outside couch, and we lived in the mountains of Caracas. We could see the valley, so it was a beautiful view. And I would lie down, and he would always like climb on the couch and then lie down right on top of me, like right on top of my chest, on my stomach, and we would just hang there, looking at the lights. And a day after he passed, I was meditating in bed, and the same 100% the same exact physical sensation of Texas on my chest and on my stomach. Like this, I know for a fact his exact weight and exactly how he feels. So he again in his spirit body laid on top of me, right? And then he started talking to me.
What?
Yeah, and I go, wait. First I go, Texas, Texas, and he goes, yes, it's me. And then, oh my God, I'm so happy that you're here. I don't have the exact conversation. I had written it down somewhere, but I don't have it. But I basically said, "Oh my God, I'm so happy that you're here." And then I told him Norma. Norma was the caretaker of the house, and she always took care of him. And I go, Norma's really really sad because you passed. And then he goes, "Oh yes, I know." And then I go, "So I mean, what can I do about that?" And then he goes, tell her to meditate on me. Tell her to go to sleep before she goes to sleep to meditate on me. And then I go, okay, I'll tell her that. And then I told him, Texas, I love you. And he goes, James, I love you. I love
Oh,
you. Listen, this was English language words that he was speaking to me or communicating to me. Okay. So then, obviously, when I woke up and I told Norma, she did the same thing. And like 2 nights afterwards, she had a vision where she was in a huge field, right? And then Texas came running towards her and jumped on her. Now, Texas was when he was 15, he could barely walk. So he was perfect again.
yeah.
Okay. So we have to remember these quote unquote animals, they're actually great souls. They're incredible, wise souls. Okay. That's the truth. And when you get up there, you'll see, you'll understand when all your friends come by. And so even they make choices because
Oh, I don't.
there is a law, there's a universal law, and it's called free will.
Mm.
They are not going to be allowed to do anything unless they choose to, and they're choosing it to in some way, shape, or form help this world awaken. Okay, awaken to the animal suffering. So they create this sense of purpose in human beings when they see those factory farms and all that stuff, and they want to act and change this idea of factory farming and all that stuff that happens to animals. But it's only because of their suffering that we as human beings are now changing and saying that it's enough with this industrial farming stuff, you know.
Mhm.
And so they've come here to help us awaken and help us to find a better way. And so they're very courageous themselves. And so yes, it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling. It's okay to feel sad about what's going on, but let it become a purpose-driven sadness. Let it become a purpose, a way, and find a way to help change the situation in your country. So you can little by little begin to change the situation. So you don't use the terribleness of factory farming to sink you deeper into depression, because that's what the ego wants. The ego wants you to feel depressed and sad and angry and resentful. Why? Why does the ego want that? Because the ego is going to use absolutely anything that it can to make you feel separate from an all-loving source, right? And so how do you stay connected to an all-loving source when these quote-unquote terrible things are happening? maybe you now shift your energy from that anger to a sense of purpose, right? So now you use that time to be a person who helps change the factory system, feeding system in the US or in Brazil or wherever. And so now you use this energy for good instead of for the ego's purposes. And so don't punish yourself for feeling disgusted or angry or sinful at what's going on, because it is horrible. But use that energy for good. And know that those beings that we call animals, even though sometimes humans act worse than animals.
By the way, I read that on your book already, that story.
Yes. Yes. Texas. Texas. What a smart dog. My God. Yeah.
But I feel like you do. I rescue, and even dogs and cats, the way it just breaks my heart, I would it's easier for me. I know this was going to sound terrible, but it's easier for me to see a human suffer than an animal, because I don't think the animals deserve that, So it's and I see a lot, and I don't understand how people could hurt these beautiful souls. And it's yeah, I understand maybe they got a purpose, but I still don't understand that. And I want to tell you about my pit bull. When my pit bull died last year, I was heartbroken. So I went, his name was Stitch, like Stitch and Lilo. And I was crying and going crazy. So I went to Walmart, and I'm walking down the aisle, and this lady's walking towards me with a t-shirt on that says Stitch written right across. Yes, right across it. Yeah. Then I go to Marshall's. I'm the aisle paying, and as I'm going down the aisle, they're hanging in the aisle was a little kid's pajama set with Stitch written on it. Then I go to the gym, and there's a sign sitting on a piano that says, "You are not alone." So, I believe that was him talking to me. I mean, he hasn't talked to me verbally, but I believe that.
Well, in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Well,
Anybody have any other comments on how they deal with the animal situation here?
just to lighten the topic, here's a beautiful animal.
Oh,
Yeah,
adorable.
it's beautiful. Yes.
Adorable. He's a
He's
man.
on. He listens to the course very carefully.
He's a man listening to the course. I have 4. The others are sleeping. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Any other comments or questions on the animal situation, or how to deal with difficult situations in a more productive manner, or any examples of how you dealt with difficult issues?
Lots of difficult issues, but yeah. I just want to be able to see a stray and just be okay. I want to save them all, And I've had like 10 dogs in my house, 15 dogs in my house. I've rescued them and found them homes. And my friends are always like, "No more animals. You don't need any more animals." But my heart just...
And if you see a stray and it brings you peace to help them out, then do that. And sometimes we can't help every animal out sometimes, and we just place them in God's hands, and we say, "God, please take care of this animal."
And know that they are all already saved. They are. They're just showing it in different ways.
Yeah, they're not. They're souls. They're souls. They understand. They understood on a higher level why they came here. Okay, so practice not judging their journey. Okay, because we don't only judge human beings, we also judge animals, and think that for some reason their journey is not perfect for them. Yes, the ego is going to insist that animal's journey is not perfect for him. That's what the ego is going to insist, and that's what the ego has taught us all our life, and it's going to be difficult for us to think otherwise. But I'm offering you what I believe is the reality of the situation, and that is they're an advanced soul. They can communicate just like we do, and they have chosen their journey too, believe it or not. And so just, yes, if it brings you peace to help them out, please. That's part of your mission. Part of your mission is to help them out because it brings you peace to do so. Okay? So there's nothing wrong with acting. Okay? There's nothing wrong with acting. But at the same time, if you lose your peace of mind, then you're playing the ego's silly little games. And the ego's separating you from source. Okay, no, remember, as you help them, also practice trusting God more. And saying, God, okay, sometimes I can't define how this world is expressing itself in a way that brings me peace, but I'm going to use this moment to trust you more. God, I know you placed me here to help this animal, and I will help him. And those that I can't help, I'm going to pray for them and put in your hands. Okay. And so use those moments where the ego tries to take you down, sink you into the despair and darkness. Use those moments to practice increasing your connection to source, to practice increasing your trust in source, to practice being more of a beacon of peace for others. Okay? And when you do that, you're fulfilling your function as the light of the world that God created you to be in your own unique way. Yes. So in this case, we're talking about loneliness also. So we all, the ego has convinced us all that we're somehow separate from source. Okay? And then we feel lonely. And yes, even myself, when I meditate a lot and I pray and I fast and I talk to God, sometimes I feel like God is not listening or he's not answering back or he's not answering my prayers, you know. But I know that when I think that way, it's not the truth in me who's thinking. It's my past programming who's thinking. Okay? So I allow myself to think those thoughts for a little bit, okay? I allow myself that grace, that mercy, to be out of alignment with the mind of God. But then I go to God, you know what? I know you're there. I know you're there. I know everything's going to be okay. I know that I'm taken care of. I know that all will be all right. And so I make peace. Before the situation ends, before the meditation ends, before I go to sleep, I align with peace. I align with the understanding and knowledge that God has my back and that all is going to be okay. And that's the knowledge that I 100% have. No matter what the ego throws my way, no matter what the world throws my way, I have made a conscious decision to acknowledge that God is with me and within me, and he has my back, and that I have co-created a perfect journey for myself to grow, heal, and awaken. And so no matter what it looks like to the ego, appreciation, gratitude is my response to my situations. Because perfection only creates perfectly. And my journey is perfect for me, no matter what the ego says. And yes, the ego.
Hard to be grateful, isn't it? You know, it's hard to be grateful.
Okay. Let's talk about that for a second. First of all, pay very close attention to what words you speak and how you speak them, okay? When you say it's hard, in quotes, to be grateful, guess what it makes gratitude? It makes it difficult. It makes gratitude difficult when you say it's hard to be grateful. But guess what? Love created you. So you are love, right? And gratitude is an expression of that love. So you are, in essence, gratitude. So it's not hard to be who you already are. What is hard is to think you cannot be who you already are. Okay? And so gratitude in reality is easy. It's natural and it's normal. What is hard is to think that gratitude is hard, because you're saying that you're something you're not. You're not gratitude. You are gratitude. And so, see, gratitude is easy. Gratitude is natural and normal. Yes, you've been programmed otherwise, but that program is untrue. It's not real. Okay? Gratitude is an expression of the love that you are. And so gratitude is normal and natural to you. And the more you reinforce that truth as true, the easier and more normal and more natural gratitude will become to you. Okay? And so remember, you are gratitude. So something that you already are cannot be hard for you to be or do. Maybe to the ego it might be hard, but not to the truth in you.
So you said something that I do when I feel, sometimes I feel fear. That fear, I know that it can become like panic. And what I usually do is to take a hot shower, let the water just run, and I pray on the water, and usually that really works. So you're saying you're visualizing waterfalls, so that really works for me.
Yes. When any sort of fear, I remember Gay was talking about her fear of those enclosed spaces in planes. Okay, whenever that fear or any kind of fear comes to you, the ego is always going to respond first with more fear. The ego is going to focus on the fear and make the fear bigger and bigger and bigger. Right? That's the ego's little trick. But we have to remember, okay, when that happens, when you start to focus on the fear more, just remember, okay, that's the ego who's taking control of my thoughts from me. And so the ego is sinking me deeper into this darkness. Okay, let me just recognize that. Okay, I'm feeling more fear. That obviously means that I'm not in control of my thoughts. Let me use this moment to take back control of my thoughts. That's all you have to do. Let me now take control of my thoughts. How do you take control of your thoughts? By consciously aligning them with love. What expression of love can help you in that situation? Trust in the divine can help you in the situation. Choosing peace instead of the fear can help you in that situation. And so now you can turn those fearful thoughts to peaceful thoughts, or to thoughts of trusting in God and the divine. And so now when you take back control of your mind, that fear begins to dissipate. And it doesn't grow. You don't give it time, space to grow. You instead switch those thoughts, take back control of your mind by aligning your thoughts with some expression of love that can take you away from that fear, that can remind you that you are safe, that all is all right, that God has you in the perfect place for you to practice trusting Him more. Okay, I can use this fear now to practice trusting God more. And then when you place those thoughts of trust in you, and you have a certain level of peace, and you get through your situation, then you go, wow, what a difference. What a difference just changing one thought in my mind made. All this drama, all this fear that the ego would try to have me experience, it was just one thought. In reality, it was just one thought that you allowed to grow. Okay, you can switch that thought. You can switch it from a thought of fear to a thought of love. From a thought of fear in this enclosed environment to saying, God, right now, this is a perfect opportunity for me to practice trusting you more. I trust that everybody here is going to be okay. I trust that I have enough oxygen. I trust that everybody will leave the plane when they're supposed to leave the plane. I trust in the divine design instead of what the ego is trying to sell me. The swampland the ego is trying to sell me. God, I trust in you. I am now going to just sit back, relax, watch everybody leave the plane little by little, as slow as they are, and just breathe, enjoy the view, and let them go, and then I can stand up and go myself, and I do so in peace, not in fear. And so
That's easier said than done. The other day I went I work on Flagler Street, right? So I was going to Dolphin Mall. So I got on the Dolphin Expressway, is that it? The one by the airport. And they built all those different flyovers. You can go this way or this way, or this way to the turnpike. So I haven't traveled that road for a while, and I started panicking. I finally found my way. I got to Dolphin Mall. On the way home, I couldn't get back on the expressway. I kept thinking, I'm not going to know where I'm going, and they're driving too fast. So I was totally paralyzed. I got a total panic attack. So what I did was I went local. I got totally lost. I was driving all through Sweetwater and everywhere, but I finally found my way. But I got totally lost. But I could not get on the expressway. I was paralyzed with fear.
Yeah, well, there's psychiatrists that they do cognitive behavioral therapy, and so that's a great therapy when you have any fear, because it's a step-by-step process.
Yeah,
helping you release your fear. Like say, and anybody can have any sort of fear. So imagine somebody who has a fear of frogs, and yes,
yeah,
and yes, I know somebody like that.
No.
And so if you bring a frog into the room where they are, they freak out.
Yeah.
Okay? So they have a terrible fear of frogs. So what you do is that you go to a cognitive behavioral therapist, okay? And little by little, first they introduce a book on frogs, and they put it not in the same room as you, but outside of the room. And they make sure you're comfortable with it. Little by little, they work with you there. And then they bring the book into the room, little by little, closer and closer to you, little by little. And they don't bring it closer until you're relaxed. So if they're 10 feet away, you're fearful, then you relax. They talk you through it. It's just a book. Don't worry about it. And then it goes to 5 feet and 2 feet. And then finally you touch the book, and you're touching a picture of a frog, and you're not fearful anymore. Because before you couldn't even touch a picture of a frog, right? And then little by little, they go to the next step. They bring a little tiny frog outside the room. You're totally at fear. And then little by little, they bring it in. 10 feet, 5 feet. And by the end of the session or a few sessions, you're touching the frog, and you say, oh, see, this fear was never real in the first place.
Called immersion therapy. That's what it is.
Yes, immersion therapy, sure. And so, see, the fear is not real. It's just we have to deprogram ourselves from believing that it's real. A frog is a nice little thing.
Yeah, okay, like rats. I can't do the rat thing.
Okay. Anyway. All right. Any final comments or questions before we close?
No.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yes, I have a situation. My girlfriend fall into trouble. I was telling her before, her addiction was in between the relationship, the alcohol, and that we needed treatment. I went to Al-Anon. She was supposed to be doing her 12 steps, and she was planning, but not taking action really. Sometimes she will meet with her sponsor, sometimes not. So she said, no, it's not the problem. The problem is me, something else going on with me, etc. So it was, I think, cloudy. And a week ago, she fell into a DUI. And of course, she didn't want to talk to me before that, So I was debating, should I call? Should I not call? Should I, call? Because at this moment, she needs help. And I was like, no, I don't think she needs help. I think it's good, to fall sometimes, to touch rock bottom and get again the strength, and then me just makes whole space and allow her to go into revamp again herself. And but then I know her that sometimes alone she just needs someone to motivate her I was debating between calling her and not calling her. I was feeling guilty for not doing it. So then what I did is just send a message, and I just want to wait. But it makes me feel peaceful now after I did that, because saying, "Are you okay? Remember I love you, that I care about you. So I'm here if you need me." That's all. I was debating if it was right or wrong. I did it out of caring, out of my heart, expecting nothing. If she will reach out, will be fine, will be nice. If she doesn't reach out, will be okay as well. But still, it's a little bit. It's been a little bit stressing before I took the action.
Yes, one of the very simple sentences in the Course in Miracles is, "Do what brings you peace, and you will have peace."
Mm-hmm.
You know your friend best, okay? So all you have to do is ask the Holy Spirit, what would bring me peace right now? What kind of action or inaction would bring me peace right now? So no matter how complicated the situation with your friend is,
Mm-hmm.
always simply ask that question. What will bring me peace right now? And then do what brings you peace. It could be an action or it could be nothing. And so it's not about doing something or nothing. It's about being at peace. So just be at peace with what you decide to do or not do. You know your friend best. Does anybody else have any comments on that whole addiction thing and her situation? No? Okay. Then simply, yes, simply do that. Answer is no matter, it's going to be, we all have friends who have addiction issues. Even I have a little bit of a chocolate addiction. But, so we all been through that whole process of our friends with that who are addicts, and so it can get very complicated. And it can, the ego can make the play look really complicated and distressful. Okay, what you do is you simplify. What can I do right now? How can I act from a place of peace? Peace. What would you have me think, say, and do right now, and then do? Jesus, what would you have me think, say, and do, and then you do that? God, what would you have me think, say, and do, then do that? Okay? Simplify it, and then act from a place of peace. And you will have peace. When you act from a place of peace, you will have peace no matter what you do. Okay? So you see, it's not about doing or not doing. It's about aligning with peace inside of you, and then being from that place, acting from that place. And if you don't know what will bring you peace, and if you have a relationship with Christ, then you bring Christ in. Christ, what would you have me think, say, and do right now for my brother or sister? Or Holy Spirit, what would you have me think, say, and do right now for my brother or sister? Or God, or whoever.
Yeah, I have a son who's in addiction, and this is what I feel. We want to save them, and we want their life to be better. But, they have to make that decision. That's their journey and their life. And a lot of times we want more for them than they want for themselves. And with addiction, they're very manipulative too. So they really know how to pull on your strings and pull you into their little web with them. So it's okay to say no. Like Mike always says, it's okay to say no out of love. And it's okay to, not let them be there, and don't be a codependent, because as a codependent, you're not helping them anyway, and you're not helping yourself. So sometimes you just got to make the decision to just let them go, whatever's best for you, That's the way I feel. Working in addictions, I work with addicts. So, and yeah, we're all addicts. I'm a chocolate addict too. I'm a sweet addict. Yeah. That chocolate calls me from out of the refrigerator. It calls me. So I say, one little piece. Okay. And then I got to go back for another piece until the whole thing's gone. And I feel sick. Yeah. So I just don't buy it. So I can't eat it. Yeah, so, you've got to know what's good for you, and don't get sucked in. You can't save anybody. That's their journey. I have to let my son go and say, okay, God, whatever happens, I'm okay with it. If he has to go in the street and die in the street, not that I want that, but there's nothing else I can do, because every time he wants money, or every time he tries to manipulate me, which he can't do, but it's just to manipulate me. Because remember, when you're dealing with addiction, you're not dealing with that person, you're dealing with the addiction. So that's not the person. That's not my son. That's whatever drug he's using. That's not my son. So if you realize that, then it makes it a little bit better. You can handle it better.
Yes.
Wow, you're right. I am a codependent in recovery.
Yeah, well, we know. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
So yeah,
that's your work to do.
thank you.
Well, thank you, folks. Lovely night. It was beautiful. Thank you, Samir, Jen.
Thank you, everybody.
Mike,
Thank
Jay,
you.
Lori, Renetta.
Thank you,
Isabel,
everybody.
Thank you,
Wendy.
everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you,
James.
Thank you, James.
Good night.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're
So
welcome.
sweet of you.